Well, good morning.
Good morning.
What a crowd. Boy, this is getting to be kind of bad. Shall we pass the plate? At any rate, what a joy to be here with you guys. And today we're going to talk about another church that Paul just loved. And he loved the people in it. And we're going to see as we go through the book why they were so special to him.
Bless you.
How does she do that? I try that and my brain's just coming out. Golly, amazing. But Philippians, where is Philippi? What province?
We didn't know we were going to be quizzed.
Okay, Macedonia. How did Paul know to go to Philippi?
He was in the way.
He's in the way. Did somebody say something about God told him to? How did he tell him to?
Vision.
A vision. And what did the vision say? Anybody remember?
Come over here.
A man appeared to him and said, "Come to Macedonia."
Come over. Well, it said, "Come over and help us." Yeah.
Come help us.
And it wasn't Jesus. This is what's really interesting about that. It wasn't Jesus calling him to Macedonia. It was a Macedonian inviting him to come to Macedonia in the vision. And what does that kind of tell us? About needs and opportunities, and it didn't say anything specific, didn't say to go there and plant a church, just said come over and help us. Do we ever see? That's what I'm saying, that when we show our love to people, what are we doing? We help them. That's what love is. It's a helping action. And what's so intriguing about this is that Paul went there, and as he tried to help one gal, he got into trouble. What was the gal? Anybody remember?
Was she a fortune teller type person?
She was demon possessed,
Yeah.
young lady that could tell fortune or futures of people. And so when he cast the demon out of her, she lost her power. And of course, if she was a slave girl, that means she has an owner. Somebody owns her and making money off of her fortune telling. And what happened then?
They got upset.
Yeah, they did. They accused him and created a scandal. And remember, in the Roman Empire, they're all after status quo. They don't want any ruffles, no ripples. Just keep everything under control. And so when Paul came and created this kind of a riot against him for upsetting this economic income by casting out a demon, he got, what did happen to him? They put him in jail. What else? They beat him, put him in stocks. Remember what stocks were? We had to sit on a board, a very narrow board, hurts a lot. Had your feet put into a wood stock, that's why they call it the stocks. And he couldn't get out, couldn't get comfortable. And they had already beaten him with rods. We used to get switched with little tiny thin branches. These are rods, these are pretty big rods, and you can kill people pretty easily with them. And so he had just gone through that. So what did he do when he was sitting there in the jail? He just come all this way to help him and ends up in jail. So how did he respond to that?
He prayed.
Singing.
Sang and prayed.
Singing.
He was singing. So they're in jail and they're just singing praise to the Lord. Well, that's sort of ironic, isn't it? Who was the one person mentioned by name that was saved in this church, this town?
The jailer.
Lydia
Lydia. Very good. And what did she do?
is so
She sold dye, and was probably pretty prosperous. So Paul stays at her house with his team, and probably starts the church in her house, and so they became very helpful to him. And how long is he going to be in this town of Philippi?
3 years?
Maybe 3 weeks before he gets thrown out. You see what I'm saying? Is that things happen pretty quick, had to happen pretty quick, because of Paul's upsetting the status quo of the day. And so in a very short order, he has these young believers. Most of them are Jewish. Why do I say that? Where did he first win somebody to Christ in this town?
Synagogue?
No.
The jailer.
and the river.
Where?
Was it at the river?
At the river.
Oh, yeah.
We used to sing a song at the river.
Yeah.
Gather at the river, yeah. And sure enough, that's what they gathered at the river. A bunch of women. What kind of women?
Business.
Well, probably business women, but they were Jewish.
Jewish.
And why were Jewish women gathering at the river?
For church.
They didn't
Didn't they
have a
have a meeting,
synagogue.
like a Bible study kind of thing?
Okay, yeah,
They were having church, weren't they?
this is Jewish people.
Well,
Gospel never been to Philippi.
There's no synagogue.
It's because they didn't have 10 men that were tithers to start a synagogue. So they
It's
had
always the
to.
guy's fault.
Dear Lord, she does not know what she said.
I'm sure that's the first time you've ever thought that. That river, you can barely see it here, but it's on this line right over here. So it's just on the north side of the town. And in my video that I put on YouTube, I go there and shoot scenes of what it was like and where they were gathering. But so it just sort of, he gets there, hears about an opportunity, and there's a bunch of ladies, mostly ladies, or maybe a few men there and children. But Paul goes there and tells who he is, what he's about, and shares the gospel. And the first one to get saved is Lydia. And there were several others that were saved, as it will be mentioned in our text today. And what's interesting is that from that very day, they became very significant in this church. And they started it just in a home. The way to start churches is just to do that. You go into a town, and any of you can do that. Can you imagine that? Let's just say you go into a town, you're going to be there for 6 months, maybe a year, a job or whatever. You just meet a few people, invite them to come over to your house and start a little Bible study. Remember the 6 questions on how to discover the Bible? That's all you need to know. And you'd be totally ignorant of the Bible virtually and still do a good Bible study because the Bible itself is self-explanatory. And if anybody ever did that, you never know what's going to come out of it. I challenged a bunch of people like that one time, and in fact, I went to Peru a few years ago and challenged a bunch of people about doing just that. And I just got word last week that 36 home Bible studies have been started just because of that one challenge. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? But that's all it takes. Where people stop getting used to a beautiful, wonderful facility like we have and take advantage of every opportunity they have to not only share the gospel, but get them into a Bible study. When I went to Romania, one of our practices was we had I think I mentioned the story one time about the Rubik's Cube gospel presentation where you flip this thing around and it's each one is a scene of the gospel. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Are you gonna do it for us?
I think I may still have one. It's kind of a fad in evangelism for a while, and it's I don't know what happened to it, but it's very effective, very effective. And you can train somebody in how to present the gospel in just a few minutes. 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, I've taught how to do it, and they love it. And so it's, but we'd go door to door and see people crowds. Once I was just sitting on a fence and just flipping through this Rubik's Cube like presentation. And I had several people come up and they said, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, you really interested, or I mean, are you just, excuse me," I said, "Are you just curious, or are you really interested?" And they said, "Well, we're really interested." They had to make a decision. Are they really interested or not? And I said, "Well, okay, then let me show you." And so I just walked through it, and some of them really got interested in the gospel, and they said, "Can we hear more?" And so I got some of my Romanian friends, and we went over to their house and started a Bible study there. And he says, "Can we meet everybody this week that comes to Christ? Can we come to your house this Friday night?" And so we did, and I'll be if we didn't start a church in a week. It was incredible. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, that's kind of what we were there for, but I was shocked when it happens. And that's kind of the way the Philippine church started. In fact, most of the churches. How long was he in Ephesus? Remember, we just struggled through Ephesus, verse by verse. And how long was Paul initially in Ephesus to start the church there? It was about 2 weeks. And there, once he started it, he left those new believers with who? No?
Luke.
Friends from Rome. A couple. Priscilla and Aquila. And he left it at this little group meeting in their home that Paul was probably renting for them, or initially he helped them get it started. And that's how that church started. And most of the churches that are started around the world aren't started with a big facility. In fact, most of the missionaries that go with enough money to buy a facility and start a church with no believers and just start inviting people to come to the facility, and oh boy, and they just start the church right there. That's how simple it is to start a church. It's not complicated. That's what I wanted to share with you, how simple it is. And fortunately, that's what really works. Do you know that there are more evangelical Christians in China in the underground church than there are in America? It's amazing. And it's all because they just do it in the homes. Doesn't take any money. Don't have to have any money, especially from foreigners. Once you start depending on foreign money to do something, you don't do anything until you get that money from the foreigners. And then when something happens to your building that the foreigners built, who's going to repair it? And you'd be amazed at how many people will say, "Well, that church is the foreigners. They're gonna fix it." And so they wait for some foreigners to come with money to fix it, because it isn't theirs. And dependency is a real problem around the world.
Brother Dunn?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
There is a couple that are members of our church, but they have a home church, ranging from 30 to 40, 45 people. They meet once a month on Sunday night, but I mean, it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that's the opportunities that are there. And as it happens, that's exciting to know how simple it is to make it work. We want to make it so complicated because we're looking at this incredible mega church like we have, and we think we can reproduce it. You can't. And this is irreproducible. And God has just done it over the last 150 years. And where this church started was just in a small little meeting from a bunch of Alabamians that came down and tried to reach these pagan Pensacolians and did pretty good. All right, our text starts in verse 3. We've seen the introduction, and he prayed that there would be peace and grace to each one of them. And then he says, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. And interesting, the word thank here is the word Eucharisto, from which we get Eucharist. And that simply means to show one is under obligation. In other words, you're so thankful that you feel obligated to them. And that's what that means. And he says, so I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. And that word simply means the recollection. Every time I recall your name or you come to mind. And that is a prayer. And so when you want to think about even our class, and we've got a list now, this becomes a great prayer list. And just go through it and mention the names before the Lord. And then as you start recalling them, and if that name brings a face to your mind, that's good too. You see their face. Now you just mention their name, and God remembers their face. But the idea is that every time you remember them, and it doesn't mean just you comes to recall, but it's as you remember them before the Lord, because he's going to mention this again, as he says in verse 4, he says, always in every prayer of mine, making requests for you with great joy. That is with joy. And so here's Paul's way in which he feels a real bond to them. Now there's several good reasons for why he feels this bond. He's going to mention some of them here in a minute. But one of the big ones, and it's not going to be mentioned until chapter 4, because of their incredible generosity to him. And he just loved these people in Philippi. Every time he could, he walked hundreds of miles to go by this church. I mean, it was just amazing. And how far would you even walk to this church?
We walked way across the parking lot. We were
We were late.
way over.
I will amen that. Yeah. We used to have a guy in Leticia that would walk 10 kilometers, that's about 6 miles, an Indian, a Witoto Indian, that would walk barefoot 6 kilometers to church. And he was always the first one there, the last one to leave. Well, he was just an amazing testimony. I went on several hunts with him, and I just about died. Oh my goodness.
Does he get out walking?
Yeah. He could outwalk me. Because the jungle is not flat. It's all up and down. And every time you see one going down, you think, oh, they got over that. I'm just going to coast going down. But you're going to slip and slide. And then, but the problem is you're just already anticipating just a second, I'm going to start turning and have to go back up again. Oh my. Anyway, but he could just climb it like an ant. It was just amazing.
They don't use vines like Tarzan.
No.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Different jungle.
That's, yeah. Anyway. Upon every remembrance of you, let's try to remember each other. And remember everybody that you can through the week. It's wonderful to meet on Sunday, but in your own mind, meet each other through the week and lift each other up. Always in every prayer of mine. It's interesting, this word prayer. I notice I have 2 words in red in that sentence, and they're the same word. just translated differently. Adesis is simply an urgent request to meet a need exclusively addressed to God. This type of request is only used at least in the literature that we have from the first century, is only used in reference to God. So he's always in every prayer of mine. He's making these requests for you, or you could say in every prayer of mine, making prayer for you, because it's the same word. But the word carries the meaning of some urgent request that he has for them. He knows what they're going through, and he's going through things that they're going to be going through. Remember, where is Paul as he writes this letter? He's in jail, that's right. He's chained to a Roman soldier in where?
His home.
Rome.
In Rome. Roman soldier in Rome. Yeah, that kind of gave it away. But the idea is that that's where he is, and he's not comfortable. How long has he been a prisoner? These are my little pop quizzes.
And none of us can remember anything.
Yeah, 2 years.
That's all right. I've had students all my life, and they never get the right, never answer.
Everybody's answered 3 years to everything. 3 years.
I said 3 months.
3 weeks.
Okay, just previous to his imprisonment, if you can remember the story in Acts, he had been imprisoned in Caesarea. He had gone to Jerusalem to give the offering that he had raised on his third missionary trip, and raised a lot of money. That's where we get the instructions about giving, is from him motivating the churches in Macedonia and in Asia to give to the Jerusalem saints that were going through a famine and tough times. And subsequently, he was going to die rather than not go to Jerusalem. I mean, he knew they would probably try to kill him there. He was upsetting the apple cart quite a bit. And so he brought that offering, they arrested him, and to save his life, the Romans put him in jail down in Caesarea. And how long was he in Caesarea?
3 years.
3 years. You'd think that God would have done something, and this was one of his problems. God didn't do anything. He didn't. What happened when Peter was put in jail?
The angel woke him up and took him out.
The angels woke him up and walked right through locked gates and kept everybody asleep, and he walked out. Now that was a real apostle. That was the attitude of the first century.
So God liked Peter better than Paul.
Evidently. And that was exactly the attitude of many Christians. And Paul, he got the brunt of it. He got beaten and whipped and
Shackled.
shipwrecked, and just went through all kind of misery. And old Peter just kind of coasting along. He just, everything's just working out rosy finey till he gets crucified. But the idea was that he just wasn't as big an apostle as Peter was. And that was a real problem for Paul. He's writing the most significant information about the gospel that anybody's ever written, and everybody's kind of thinking he's just sort of a secondary sub-apostle. And that's one of the big problems he had. Now, particularly, he's in jail. And how long is he going to be in jail in Rome? 2 years. Very good. And how long did it take him to get from Jerusalem to Rome?
3 years.
1 year. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, you guys are great students. I don't know what's giving you all these hints. But what I mean to say is, here's the great apostle that is going through terrible suffering, and had been going through terrible suffering before he gets arrested. And then after he gets arrested, he goes through 7 years or 6 years of imprisonment, where he can't really do anything. He's chained to a Roman soldier. The only thing he can do is talk to this Roman soldier and anybody that can come to see him. And of course, you start identifying with prisoners, and you get a black name, blackballed or whatever you call it, or you get in trouble. And that was why people really risk it to go associate with him. It's when Epaphroditus went from Colossae and came all the way to Rome. I mean, how's he going to find the Apostle Paul? He's got a rented house, and how are you going to find him? You know, there's no telephone directory. There's no Google search. I mean, he just got to go around and ask people. Hey, do you know where this Jew is that is under arrest? I mean, we don't want to have anything to do with that. But he still finds him and risks his life to find him. Well, there's a tremendous love for somebody that you're willing to go through that route. So that's the kind of people that Paul generated. Those that got to know him really learned to love him. And that's one of the big factors, big keys that you want to have here. And